on everybody, Boone Wyatt here with the 323 Concept Furniture Restoration. This is our, I think this is the final part of our series. This is either part 4 or 5. We'll call it part 4, and we might do one more part on how to paint this chair, but as far as this series go, we are gonna show you how we go about dismantling a chair to re-glue it, because this sucker is loose. I don't know if I showed y'all this. I think you probably saw it in another video, but if you just look at this, it is all over the place. It is loose as a goose and needs to be tightened up. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna show you how we go about taking this thing apart and re-gluing it. All right, so where do we start? Every chair is different, let me say that. So you want to carefully look over your chair before you begin. You want to see how it's put together and just sort of tackle it from there. You know, use some common sense, but sort of see how it's put together. But from looking at ours, this whole back piece down to the legs, that is all one solid piece. And then the seat frame attached with the legs, with these parting rails, this is all one piece. So I think the way I want to start is I want to detach the back from the seat, and then we'll sort of go about dismantling the legs from the seat and vice versa. One thing that's very important as you're taking this apart, have some painter's tape handy and a marker, and as you take things apart, don't forget to label it. Take pictures if you need to take pictures, and just make sure you label it so you know where everything goes as you take it apart. All right, so I think I've got tape on this everywhere I can think of to add tape. You can label it however you want, just make sure that you know how to read your own labels and how to decipher whatever you're putting. You know, you might put numbers on everything and then take a picture of it. So for instance, you can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, right? And once you get that done, you know, take a picture of how you have it. You might take some close-ups as you go as well. That way you have record of where everything was, okay? So for instance, we've got, you know, 16 parts on this piece, and then I would take my phone, take some pictures, right? So I've got my orange tape on everything. I'm gonna take some photos. Just the main thing is creating a system that you understand, and I'm sure there's better ways out here. In fact, if you've got a better way, I would love to hear it. How do you remember where everything goes? Do you take pictures? Do you have what's your labeling system? I would love to get some fresh ideas. I don't do this super often, but when I do, I've definitely learned to take some photos and create a labeling system. So, all right. So like I said, we're gonna start by we're gonna try to separate this seat frame from the back system successfully. A lot of the times, you might have a couple issues along the way if you're manufacturer. A lot of the times, these are what they call mortise and tenon joints, where there's a joint or a piece of wood. This has been routed. This piece right here that goes into the back might have a specific piece of wood that sticks down into this, and sometimes they nail it through the side. Now, if you're trying to break that apart, sometimes you might chip the back trying to get it off of there because they did that instead of just relying on glue and joinery. So you sort of just got to roll with the punches and see if it's going to be worth it or not. Let's start by, you want to use a rubber mallet. You know, keep a rubber mallet handy for this process. So I'm going to start right here and see if we can start separating the seat from the frame, from the back. And you can start seeing it to separate here. That's a good sign. If it's not as loose as mine is and you're having trouble getting it apart, a heat gun will reactivate that glue. If you have a heat gun, you can reactivate the glue in there. Sometimes that works great. And you see here, they've got some dowel joinery. That's was going in place there. There we go. So, all right. Got that loose. There we go. Okay. So we got that separated. Let's set that out of the way for a moment. And that should pop right out now. There we go. So we've got our seat apart. You probably don't have to worry about taking these blocks off, but you'll definitely want to get all the old nails out of the way, but we'll get to that. Right now we're just taking it apart, okay? That out, this one's out. So now, just from looking at it, we need to get these crossbars off. Not crossbars, we need to get our, I'll call this a right side post off before we try taking any of this apart. So if I start trying to hammer up and down on this, it's gonna break this, right? So let's get this off first. Okay, easy enough, easy enough. And now we can take, actually, I mean, if this is in good shape, I won't have to take this apart. See, this one's pretty wobbly, so I'm gonna go ahead and take mine apart. There we go. Got that. Got that. Sometimes it'll be this easy, other times it won't. You just gotta sort of play things by ear. Got that. All right, I think we have got everything disassembled. Let's go ahead. I think those are good. So like I said, we've got nails sticking out right here. These are from the vendor. And you can just sort of grab those with your pliers. And if you go back and forth a few times, it'll break those at the point at the wood. That way it just breaks even. If you have an oscillating tool, I left my net of customers the other day, otherwise I would probably show you this, but if you have an oscillating tool with a metal bit, one that cuts through nails, I'll put a link in the description where you can find those blades, but they work great at cutting these, make it super quick. And you can just trim them all to the base and they just come off like nothing. I use them a lot on staples on when I'm taking upholstery apart, so. But yeah, you could just zap right through those. It would go super quick for you. All right, good there, good there. I'll get these out later. Those are just the Phillips screws that hold the seat in place. I had taken out the seat ahead of time. Usually, in probably 90% of the cases, you're just gonna find four to six screws that hold your seat in place, and you can take that off before you begin. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, my bad. All right, that. Next, we need to do a little work on our leg system. Okay. That loose. Good there. That one's good. Okay, and last one. All right, so that's all the disassembly. Just need to get these last few staples that were in the seat frame. And do the same thing on those. All right, so next step is we're gonna go through, I've got a carbide scraper that I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna just make sure there's no old glue. To be honest, I don't think this vendor used much glue except to hold these dowels in place. But I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna clean up any leftover residue, glue, dirt. You would wanna make sure that you get those out of the way before you keep trying to, before you start trying to re-glue. Sometimes I rush through things and I just don't see it, so. All right, so this is one of my new favorite tools as a furniture worker. It is a carbide scraper made by Baco. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in one of these, but it works great for cleaning up glue. You take out this screw. I haven't even had to do this yet. I've had it for a couple months. You can loosen this screw and you've actually got three sides to work with. If one dulls out, it gets chipped, something weird. But you would always want to go through, just check your sides, make sure there's no loose glue, residue, dirt. There's a little bit of glue on these ends. It looks like they added some glue where all the dowels went. So we're gonna clean that up as best as possible. And we'll probably just drill out these holes again, make room for all new dowels, make sure we get the glue out of there, and go from there. But we're just gonna go through. Just make sure there's no glue on these surfaces. I noticed they didn't really put glue on the surfaces. They put glue where the dowels went. They didn't put it on any of the surfaces, which is sort of interesting to me. But it's gonna be tedious, but you need to go through every piece of that came off, and you need to clean off the glue, just like I said, and go from there, okay? We'll be right back as soon as we finish doing all that. All right, y'all. I came across this scenario that I wanted to go over real quick. As I was coming through, I noticed there's a broken dowel, right? If it's not flush with the wood already, you wanna make sure you get it flush, cut it off, you know, whatever you need to do to get it flush right there. But what we want to do is we want to drill that out, obviously, so that we can get a new fresh dowel in there. So the dowels that go in there right now require us to drill up to 3/8 inch. But we don't want to start there because a lot of the times it's hard to get it centered right there. So what we're going to do, we'll start with a really low drill bit size. In this case, we'll start with 1/8 inch. And we'll get it centered. I'm trying to get it to where y'all can see this, I'm sorry. We'll get it centered. We'll start there and we just gradually work our way up, you know? You don't have to do it all at once. Like I said, it's hard to get it centered, so we'll start small. We'll gradually work our way up. And we got it drilled out. And as you're going, you want to drill out all these old ones where the dowel is missing, and that'll just sort of help clean out the glue that was in there. You don't want any leftover glue residue to prevent it from getting the new glue in there and drying. So, all right. If you've got a really thick piece of glue on the surface, instead of trying to use that carbide scraper, I would start with it with a really nice sharp chisel and get that layer of glue off there. Once you get, you know, a little bit of that off there, then you can go back in with your scraper. And just be careful for those screws that you broke off earlier. You don't want to go over that too hard with your carbide scraper, otherwise you'll chip your scraper. All right, so we are to the point where we can start re-gluing this. So we're gonna start with the back, since that's the last thing that came apart. That's where we wanna start. So just wanna have a couple things handy. Rubber mallet. Obviously you want your wood glue. I just used the Tight Bond. I think I used the grade 3. I'll have a link to the description in our video to any of these products that we're using. That way you know what to get. And you wanna have a bunch of clamps handy for when you get ready to start reassembling this, okay? So let's start by, we're basically gonna reinsert our back slats into the top and bottom of the back, and then we're gonna glue it up as we go. So let's just start. Somebody sent me some of this Workman's Friend. It's a barrier skin cream. A painter sent that to me as a giveaway about a week or two ago. Actually, it was Chris, the Idaho painter from Paint Life TV. I don't know if y'all have heard of him, but he sent that to me in the mail. And I've been trying that out. I put it on my hands before I started working. And supposedly, if you make a mess on your hands, that skin barrier cream is supposed to make it a lot easier to get whatever you got on your hands off of there. So, like, it's recommended for mechanics, it's recommended for paint trades. So if you're doing a lot of dirty work with your hands, the skin barrier cream is supposed to help out quite a bit. So if nothing else, it's moisturizing your hands, which is never bad, I guess. I don't know about y'all, but I tend to dehydrate myself. I wash my hands a lot in the shop, so my skin gets real dry. So get a lot of those cracking issues. I've just about used that paper towel up, so I'm gonna switch here. All right, and we're ready to do the legs. I had to grab some more paper towels, and we are ready to proceed here. So next step, and like I said, always refer to the pictures and the labels that you put on there. That way you make sure you get everything going to the right spot. If you need to add dowels, now's the time to add your dowels. Make sure we got what we need. See, I've got one missing here, so we want to add one. So before I add this one in here, we obviously want to put a little glue on there.
like a bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth.
All right. So I haven't glued any of the seats, any of the leg frame yet. I wanted to see if I went ahead and just sort of dry fitted it, made sure I had all the pieces in the right spot. And right now I'm just sort of putting some temporary clamps on there to see if we can't get it solid so that I can tip it forward. I'll move the back out of the way and I can start replacing the dowels. So that one's gonna end up going right here like this. So the question is, and the question you have to decide is, how do you want to glue this up? I think I'm gonna sort of see what dowels are missing, see if I need any more of those.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell.
But we're on the down stretch here. We're just getting glue added to the last few necessary places on this chair. It's been a long project. I apologize if the video was a little bit lengthy, but this is a very tedious project. Keep that in mind as you start it. Granted, they're not all this bad. I told you that in the beginning, and I meant it. This is about as elaborate as it'll probably get on regluing a chair. Hopefully, if it's something you're working on, hopefully it's just one or two loose joints that you can deal with, and you don't have to reglue your whole chair. So, but in this case, just about this whole thing was wobbly. So, okay.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
All right. And like I said, the longer that sets up, the better. So I'll probably let that sit up overnight and we'll take a look at it tomorrow. I almost forgot, I still have to add my 3 blocks that I had taken off. So I've already got some glue on those areas. So I'm just gonna reattach those. And instead of using nails or staples, I'm gonna use, I think they're T15 screws. T15 is just the Torx head bit. And I love using these. These are great for woodworking. They prevent, or they're supposed to prevent from splitting the wood. You don't necessarily have to pre-drill, although you can if you really want to, but they work great for reattaching a bunch of small trim pieces like I do without splitting the wood. So this one has some nails, but just for reinforcement, go ahead and add. Go ahead and add a screw on there for stability. Screws are always going to be better than nails.
It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go.
All right, everybody, that concludes our video for today. That is we'll call it the 4th part in our series of regluing the chair. Lastly, next part in the series, we'll be painting, refinishing this chair. And we'll sort of show you our process of going through that. And but this is what you have to look forward to if you're regluing a chair and it's in pretty bad shape. You know, just you got to have a lot of clamps, or you'll have to do it in a lot of different steps. So, but this is what you have to look forward to. It's about, that was probably about a 2 to 3 hour process, all trimmed down into a short video for you, sort of showing you how we did it. Hopefully you learned a couple things, and you know, if you want to share some comments, any suggestions in the video, I'm always open to constructive criticism. We love it, so it only helps us get better. So if you have any of those, feel free to share them. You know, otherwise, if you like the video, like it, share it. Subscribe to our page, hit that notification bell, and that way you get updates to our future videos. And like I said, if you like any of these products, need any of these products, we'll put a link in the description of our video with all of the products that we use that can sort of help you as you're trying to take on some of these processes yourself. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Like a bird on a tree,